of all, is a new medium for you. You're doing this rather differently.
Well, Bill Gravia, Orion is my publisher, and a very nice setup. And they came to me, and they wanted to do a new kind of novel that was a mixture of the 19th century concept of releasing a chapter a week, an episode a week, which of course for Dickens or George Eliot or Thackeray or someone, it would be in a magazine, and then you would buy that magazine and you'd get chapter 12. And they wanted to do that, but they wanted to do it in the internet age, so that it comes on your iPad, it comes on your iPhone, your thingamajig, and then you also have an app, a word I use as if I knew what it meant, and you go on this app. At least I go on this app with the help of my son, and there you find family trees and maps, and all the houses, for instance, in the novel are real houses. There are 2 country houses principally, and 2 houses in London. They're all there, they're all standing, and the 2 country houses are owned by the National Trust, so you can go around the house on the app. And then you also, in the text, there are sort of some words, it says, he died at Waterloo or something, and you get your cursor over Waterloo, and you go, Nyeh, and it says, Waterloo was a battle fought between the Emperor and I don't know, it just seemed kind of witty to sort of mix this ultra-modern sort of computer way of reading a book, and then also it's got the wonderful Julian Stevenson has recorded it so that you're reading this thing on your app. No, not your app, your iThing. And you then decide to go driving, so you get in the car and you just press audio, and she will pick it up according to where you got to in reading. Wow! And then she'll read it, and then you get to your destination and you press no, and I'll read it now, whatever it is. And it comes back to you. I mean, it just all seems so incredible to me that I thought it was a hoot. And just miles from Downton, although, not to frighten you too much, I mean, it starts at the Duchess of Richmond's ball on the eve of Waterloo. I don't know, you probably will know about this, but it's one of the sort of famous parties of history, because the Duchess was a pal of Wellington's, and he'd asked her, Brussels was very kind of jumpy, because Napoleon had left Elba and had marched back to Paris, and what's going to happen there. And so he asked her if she'd give a party to show that the British were very calm and nobody was in a panic and everything was very cool. And so she organised this party, this house, and then just before it, they heard that Napoleon was on the march. And she said to, what do you think? Do you think we should cancel? She said, no, cancel would be terrible, just go ahead with the ball. So she went ahead with this ball, and everyone turned up who was in Brussels at that time, which was quite a lot of society and stuff, because in those days, people sort of followed wars. We run in the opposite direction, but they kind of followed them. And there they all were. And then the messenger arrived for the Prince of Orange, who was one of the guests, and ran over, and he showed it to Wellington. And it told them that Napoleon was not only on the march, but was almost at Brussels. And he was going to have to leave to head it off, all of which happens in the novel. And in fact, they fought immediately the Battle of Quatre Bras, and then Waterloo followed about 2 days later. And the terrible thing was, some of the young men who had got into their dress uniforms for the ball never had time to go home and change and died in them. And so you have this incredibly tragic image of this sort of flower of youth dead on the battlefield, still in their party-going clothes, And that seemed a sort of good and rather iconic place to start the story. And then we have a gap, and we go forward 26 years to 1841. And we begin, rather like we were saying about Downton, we begin with this woman, Anne Trenchard, who's the wife of a self-made man in the story. And she is going to a tea party of the Duchess of Bedford's. And the reason for that is so-called afternoon tea, which is tea with something to eat, with sandwiches and cakes and stuff as we know it now, was invented by the Duchess of Bedford and was first launched as a social thing in 1841. So we begin at the new invention of afternoon tea. So in a way that's quite similar, really. And then the story plays out that something happened at the ball which has affected the lives of, in particular, two families, and that is played out over the ensuing chapters. So it's kind of my territory. I mean, you know, this is a holiday read. It's not Dostoevsky, you know, and I hope you have a good time reading it. But that for me was the fun of it, and sort of going on and learning more and seeing how much did you pay a housemaid, and how did it work with the somethings, and you know, when did the railways come and all of that. And that's the idea.
When Charles Dickens came to this country,